Hello, everybody. Come on in and get settled and ready for the first in our We Are series here at Penn State Berks. Please make sure your audio device is working. You have your sound on. We will actually today be utilizing the raise hand and Q&A function. So please make sure that you are ready to go, and we will begin with our We Are presenter at 12:15. Welcome to our LionSide Chat today, and the first in our We Are series. We will be getting started at 12:15. Please go ahead and make sure your sound is good and you can see us, and we will be getting started with our first presenter at 12:15. Thank you. All right, welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Penn State Berks LionSide Chats. My name is Dawn Pfeiffer-Wright, and I have the pleasure of working along my colleagues Sonia De La Cueto and Dr. Ryan Hassler to bring you our LionSide Chat series. Today, I'm really excited to welcome our first in the We Are series for the FYS. So hopefully there are all you first year students that are joining us, as well as others from around campus. So come on in and welcome to our campus. We are so glad you can join us today. Before we get started, I just want to share a few pieces of information. You can go ahead and use our Q&A feature throughout the chat to submit questions that you might have for our presenter. And we will actually be using the raise hand feature for part of Angie's presentation later on. Once our presentation includes, in about an hour from now, we will have a Q&A with our presenter, so you'll be able to ask any questions that you have for Angie. We'll also be recording today's session, so this will be available in our archive on the LionSide Chat website if you wish to rewatch it or share this with any of your friends and family. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome Miss Angela DiJacomo and have her join us for this first in the We Are series today. Today we are resourceful, and Angie is going to be talking with us about some really important things that all of our first year students need to get to know as they are beginning to acclimate to Penn State Berks. So Angie, without any further ado, I welcome you to our campus LionSide Chats and the first of our We Are series. I'm excited for you to get an opportunity to share your stuff with our students. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my share, and I'm going to ask you to start yours. Perfect. And if you're all set to go, I'll let you do your thing, and I will be facilitating the Q&A with Sonia in a little while. Thanks, Angie.
Thanks so much, Dawn and Sonia, for having me today as part of the LionSide Chat series. So welcome, everybody. I'm really excited to be here and to be talking to you today about jumpstarting your Penn State experience. If you are a past student and you're logged in today and you participated in the past program, this might actually look and sound familiar to you, as I had talked to you a little bit about this over the summer. If you haven't and you're not a past student, then welcome. I hope today's information proves to be useful to you as you kind of start building your co-curricular transcript and really getting those Penn State experiences outside of the classroom during your tenure here, either at Penn State Berks or the Penn State wide system in its entirety. So, my name is Angela DiJacomo. I am the Assistant Director of Campus Life at Penn State Berks. I am actually in my 4th year here at the Berks campus. Part of my responsibilities include overseeing a lot of the leadership opportunities we offer through the Office of Campus Life. I oversee all clubs and organizations on campus. I coordinate homecoming and family weekend. I co-advise the Student Government Association. I also plan and execute our SGA Leadership Banquet at the end of every academic year, as well as oversee our arts and lecture series we have on campus, our outdoor programming adventures, and a lot more. The list is actually continuous. So I wear a lot of different hats here at the campus, which is great because I have the opportunity to interact with a lot of different students in our community. So just a little bit about me. I graduated from Westchester University with both my bachelor's and my master's in higher education counseling. And in my past time, I do enjoy teaching dance classes to both young students and adults, so tap and hip hop and ballet. I've got 2 fun little Yorkies at home, Bella and Brutus, and I'm coming up on a year, actually, my 1st year anniversary with my husband. So we're very excited to be celebrating that soon. So one of the things I always like to mention before kind of digging into the the real meat of this is that I am by no means an expert. I just really love my job, right? And as a result, I am constantly learning new trends and different ways to kind of provide opportunities for our students. I consider myself a lifelong learner. So the education goes both ways, right? Students are teaching me, and hopefully I'm teaching students. So I always just kind of like to say that going into it. Okay, so this is where we're really going to use that chat feature. All right, I want to hear, what were you involved in, if anything, right? Maybe it was sports, maybe you were involved in clubs, maybe you were a theater or dance, student, or maybe you didn't do anything, and that's okay too, right? Maybe you sat at home and did some Netflix, which is this is great. Okay. And Dawn, if you, oh, there they are. All right, now I can see it.
Do you see it, Angie?
I cannot.
Okay, so you're getting some folks that are saying that they were involved in swimming, piano, video games, sports,
oh, great,
music, clubs, basketball, art clubs, sports, Leo clubs, swimming, track and field, quiz bowl. I want to know about quiz bowl.
Yeah, I want to know that too. Oh, this is awesome.
Media production, music programs, sports, dance, sports, books.
Awesome. That's a lot.
Football. Yep.
Football. Great. Thank you, Dawn. I appreciate that.
Music, baseball.
Great. Great. So these are all right. Yeah, those are great. Thank you so much, Dawn. So those are all things that I think we definitely either have an equivalent to or that we can offer to you while you are here at Penn State Berks. So I'm going to my next slide, and I might be aging myself here, and if I am, oops. So if you walk away with anything from today's presentation, it is YOLO. And again, I know my references are old, and so am I. So keep that in mind as we're kind of going through this, right? So I want to take a minute and kind of show you. I'm a visual person. I like images, right? And I want to share an image that you see on your screen here today of how the average college student might spend their time, right? So there are roughly about 156 hours in a week, right? So about 15, again, this is average, 15 credit hours can be contributed to your class time. Hopefully you're getting a solid 8 hours of sleep at night, so that would be 56, although I'm sure that's probably aiming high. Statistically, they do say that you should spend at least 2 hours per class credit of homework. So that would bring you to about 30 hours of homework, plus about an hour per meal, which brings you to 21. And then, of course, you're left with 46 hours after all of those things are done. 46 hours of leisure time, right? I want to talk to you about those 46 hours, right? So you probably fill those things with maybe Netflix or Disney Plus, or maybe you're on social media and you like TikTok or Instagram, or maybe you enjoy going to the gym, right? Like every other student, which is great, but you're not like every other student, are you? You're here today. You chose to be here to learn more about how you can take advantage of your experiences here at Penn State, right? So I consider you as an exceptional person, as an exceptional being who wants to be offered opportunities that most Penn State students might not have, right? So you have all this time, you've got 46 hours, where do you start? Oh, leadership and involvement. Okay, so let's look at the definition of leadership, right? So the definition actually in Merriam-Webster says it's the office or position of leader. This person has the capacity to lead, or is the act or instance of, in fact, leading, right? Leaders. Okay, so you're saying I have to become a president of a club in my first year of college in order to succeed? No, I'm not saying that at all. Absolutely not. That is not the case. But there are things that should happen in your first or maybe even second year of college, right? Because everybody works at their own pace. So just remember that as well, right? So one of those things is to think about is becoming self-aware, right? Keep an open mind. And that's what I tell most of the first year students coming into college, right? Keep an open mind, ask questions, right? Have the ability to identify your strengths, right? So I feel, and I will use this as a personal reference by saying, like, I know it's very difficult for me to find the things that I know I'm good at, right? But once I do, I run with that, right? And so being mindful and being thankful are all those things that kind of contributing to who am I, what am I doing here, and what is my path here at Penn State Berks, right? Something else we want you to kind of figure out during your time here is how you value your time, right? What it is that you do with those 46 hours you have in your free time, right? Try new things, right? College is about learning, right? Again, it's also about learning outside of the classroom. We know you're here to get that degree, and that's an amazing thing, and it will definitely be a beautiful accomplishment. But there's so much more to do outside of that academic space that contributes to your development as a student, as a human, as a professional, once you leave, the Penn State system. So try new things. If it doesn't bring you joy, is it really worth your time? Think about that, especially as you kind of find those folks you identify with and you spend your time with, right? What are the things that they're doing that you might be tagging along with that you might not necessarily enjoy? So value that time and make the most of it, right? Choose your attitude. I think this is probably my favorite, my favorite theme here. Challenges are going to happen. That is a fact, right? College is not a stroll through the park. It's definitely a marathon, right? But it's how you face those challenges that really determine your experience and what opportunities present themselves in the future, right? We are all human. We all face challenges every day. Look at us, we're having this presentation virtually, right? That alone is a challenge. I don't get to see your faces, right? And I'm someone who kind of feeds off of the audience and everything here. So it's how we overcome them and how we face them that determines, how we're feeling when we wake up in the morning and how we treat other people and those interactions you have with maybe some of your faculty, professors, and some of the staff that you might interact with, or maybe future employers or folks who might provide you opportunities with internships and things of that nature. And last but not least, but you are not alone, right? You do not have to do these things alone, right? Finding your, your niche and your place in the world, you don't have to do by yourself, right? It's okay to ask for help and seek guidance from those who have been in your shoes, right? I know at Penn State Berks, I think it's safe to say we've all been in your shoes, right? So ask questions. We are here to help you and serve you in those capacities. Okay, so what makes us a good leader? How do I become a good leader, right? Listen, there really is no science. There is no special formula. I can't tell you to do A, B, and C, right? And out comes this perfect leader, right? What we do know is that leaders enable people to be better, right? I'm gonna say that again. Leaders enable people to be better, right? And I think that's all we really want. We want to be good humans, and we want to be better people, and we want to learn and grow. So again, no special formula. I can't tell you how to do that, but I can give you maybe some tools to get you started on that path, right? So this next activity, we are going to be using the chat again. I want you to think really hard about someone who might have inspired you to be a better person, right? So write that name down, whoever that is, and maybe it's not someone who's personal. Maybe it's an athlete, or maybe it's a performer, an actor, an actress. And when you write that name down, I want you to think of maybe 2 or 3 things that make them inspirational. What is it about this person that has inspired you to be better? And when you're done thinking about that, I want you to type one of those words into the chat. And then Dawn, if you have a spare minute, read those off.
I am all on it, ready to go.
All right, thank you.
So I do see that someone has populated a name, but I don't have any qualities yet. So students, please go ahead and write some qualities of these people. So someone was has overcome challenges. Someone is supportive. They have confidence, logical. Yes. They have determination. I'm seeing a lot of people identifying their parents, which is nice.
Yes, it is.
Caring.
Caring, yes.
Yep. Talking about their parents, they're empathetic, they're hardworking, they're courageous.
Yes.
They're determined.
Right. Beautiful.
Motivated, determined, and very caring.
Perfect.
They have grit, which I love from last day. Yes. Empathetic. Patient.
Yes.
Appreciate all of this. Caring. Hardworking.
I'm seeing some themes.
Yes, I would agree. Determined and focused.
Focused. Yeah.
High energy levels. Yep. Enthusiasm.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely hearing high spirits and hard work and determination and motivation. These are all beautiful things. Thank you so much, Dawn.
Yeah.
So all of these attributes, each unique, right? But definitely embody the spirit of what we're talking about here. Definitely embody the spirit of leadership, right? And so as part of this activity, I challenge you to write maybe an email or a thank you card or a text message or maybe a phone call if it's possible, right? Part of being a leader, part of somebody who kind of seizes the day and just being like a good human in general, right? Is being humble, right? And thanking those who have made a positive impact on you. Maybe it's not a major impact, but a positive impact nonetheless. And I will tell you that recognition does go a long way, right? You know, as part of my job here, you know, we work tirelessly to give you the best experience possible. And I know we're never looking for trophies or plaques or awards or anything like that, but you know, a thank you can go a long way to a lot of people. So moving on. historically, leadership theories date back to the turn of the century with things like what we call the early trait approach, right? And that is really just believing that behavioral traits predict your style of leadership, which is what we're about to talk about now. And since we only have, less than an hour at this point, we're not really going to get into all of it. But I could sit here and ramble on for hours about leadership theories and student development theories. So I kind of want to just sum up some of my few personal findings throughout my tenure in this role. And so your leadership style is something that you will constantly kind of evaluate. It may change throughout your time, but something to keep in mind as you start getting involved, and maybe you're joining a club, or maybe you're the lead actor in a play, or the first chair in an orchestra or choir. So some of these things into leadership styles, this introduction, I'm going to start with the first one, and you'll see that on the left-hand side of your screen, and that is laissez-faire leadership, right? It's more commonly used to describe economic environments, right? But it literally means let them do, right? Like super hands-off approach, let it be. So as such, laissez-faire leaders are characterized by, again, their hands-off approach, which is really effective in creative jobs or workplaces where employees tend to be very experienced. So an example of someone who kind of had this specific style was Ronald Reagan, actually. He was known for allowing his subordinates to complete their responsibilities in the manner that they saw fit, right? So most of Reagan's high-level leadership selections were experienced captains of industries, from like Wall Street, maybe engineering and aerospace contractors, things of that nature. And during his 2 terms as US president, Reagan delegated unprecedented authority to his chief of staff, his cabinet secretaries, and others, sometimes maybe a little bit to his peril. However, Reagan earned a reputation of as a strong but really hands-off leader. So something to think. Our next, and probably our most common, and a lot of the times I see this as a style from our students and from faculty and staff as well. So democratic leadership, which is also known as participative leadership, is basically the style as it suggests, right? It really means that leaders often ask for input from other team members before making any kind of final decisions, right? So as a result, workers usually report higher levels of job satisfaction, and the company actually benefits from better creativity. On the downside, not that it's that much of a downside, the democratic process typically works normally a little bit slower, and doesn't necessarily work well in places where quick decision making is crucial, because it's more of a team effort, right? So a person well known for her democratic leadership style that you see here is Indra Nooyi. She's the CEO and chairman of PepsiCo, and she has endeared herself to her employees. She takes an interest in their personal lives and has a vision of the company's future that she shares constantly with her team, right? So she actually made the news when she sent letters to the parents of her direct reports to let them know how proud their family should be for their hard work and dedication. Like I said, that's definitely, democratic leadership is something that I see way more often in young leaders such as yourselves. So third, we have our bureaucratic leadership style, and these models are most often implemented in highly regulated or administrative environments where adherence to the rules and defined hierarchy are very important. These leaders really ensure that people follow the rules and really carry out their tasks by the book, right? So naturally, this works well in certain roles such as, health and safety, for example, right? But might have the ability to stifle innovation and creativity in more agile, fast-paced companies, right? So a strong example of a bureaucratic leader was Winston Churchill, which is the photo you see here. He, while he was British Prime Minister, he showed a number of different leadership qualities. The bureaucratic leadership is definitely among the strongest models he used, right? So he had a lot of charisma, which you saw a lot during World War II, but he also relied on a heavy structured system to get things done, right? So, he was very decisive in nature, and he was always persistent in making sure he followed a plan and followed the rules. And last but not least is our autocratic leadership style. So autocratic leaders have significant control over their staff and rarely considers suggestions or shares power, right? So that these folks tend to rule with an iron fist, which might not be appreciated by the staff and therefore leads to high turnover and sometimes absenteeism, right? And sometimes there's a lack of creativity due to, there's a very strategic direction, right? This person wants a certain way to get to the goal, right? Coming from a single individual. And we always say that this leadership style you see often and is best suited in environments where jobs are very routine. And that includes, military organizations is a good example of that. And while I mentioned that military organizations be a good example, I'm actually going to show you, this is Martha Stewart you see here. She's got $1 billion empire, is one of the most famous and powerful women in the world, but her leadership style made it possible for her to get on top of her business to the point that she was regarded as scrupulous and very meticulous, right? However, her self-made empire was built out of her vision and dreamed to become successful. And she was able to do that using this kind of style of leadership, right? So so something to think about. And at the end of the session today, I'm actually going to throw into here, into the chat, a link to actually take a quiz. So you can kind of see where you're at yourself. It is free and asks, I think, somewhere up to like 18 to 20 questions in which, you're awarded a score and you can kind of see where you fit as far as leadership styles go. And again, I'm a firm believer that your leadership style is ever evolving and will shift as you become more self-aware, right? So something to think about as you start to kind of investigate things that you would like to do or kind of take charge of during your time here at Berks. So while that might be very theoretical and very academic, I always say that your experiences at Penn State with your leadership and involvement starts with choices, right? So a key theme when it comes to choices, trust, right? There will be opportunities for you to be part of a team, and a team that trusts its leader can overcome any challenge or change, right? As long as you can be there for your team while being there for yourself, as well as being fully present for the people who need you the most. And that typically requires active listening, right? So learning to be someone who can truly be there for that group of people and participate in actual active listening. Awareness, we talked a lot about self-awareness today. And as you think about how or when you become a leader, think about how everything you do is magnified, right? Think of it as like living in a fishbowl, right? So you're constantly evaluating how your actions are impacting people, as well as trying to remember to set an example that earns respect and commitment, right? And again, we are all human. We are not perfect beings. And so these things take time and learning, right? And experiences. Attitude, I know I had mentioned earlier, you know, this choosing your attitude thing, and I really want to harp on it a little bit because it really is important to how you carry yourself here, right? Your attitude is infectious, right? It can quickly spread among your class, your roommates, your families, to you know, a team that you might be a part of, right? It's important to remember that attitude is a choice, okay? You might wake up on the wrong side of the bed one morning, right? And that's okay because it happens to everybody. We're all, again, not perfect. But no one else will ever have the power to choose how you feel. You are the only person in the driver's seat, right? So if you choose to be positive, if you choose to be, you know, in a good mood, I guarantee you the folks around you will feel the same way because we as humans tend to feed off of other folks' energy. So remember to accept responsibility and become an example of integrity and accountability, right, with your attitude. And last but not least, recognition, right? And again, I mentioned this earlier as well. The best leaders don't necessarily just value results, right? They value people, right? So make sure to show some appreciation and love, right? Celebrate the wins and encourage those folks and listen, right? And just remember that simple gestures can go a long way and tend to build good teams and good groups of people. And even if you're just working on a class, you know, maybe a group project for one of your classes, right? These are all things that apply to that scenario. Okay, so YOLO. I'm going back to YOLO for a second. College is really all about making your own experiences. And part of that is taking advantage of the opportunities that are brought before you. So remember that sometimes this may mean you will have to advocate for yourself. But again, you are the only driver of your own road trip. So you need to make sure you reach out and grab it. And to kind of give you some context, I would like to share a personal story. So while I was at Westchester, I was a student studying elementary education. I finally, it actually took me to my junior year to really get involved, right? And to really put myself out there and become vulnerable. But I did, and I became, you know, I worked in residence life, and then I became an orientation leader. And as I got into my senior year, I got into my last semester, I was in student teaching, and I found myself completely miserable, right? So I'm going back to that, you know, thinking of the themes of this presentation. We talked about valuing your time, right? And so I graduated successfully, which is great, but I was not happy. And I didn't have a job, probably because I was so unhappy, right? Well, happenstance, I ran into one of my old supervisors at Westchester University. Her name's Mary McKinney. She was the director of residence life there. She got me a lot of the opportunities, you know, in my undergrad. And she actually suggested, you know, how about you work in higher ed, right? You know, I was an orientation leader and I did a lot of other fun things in different clubs and things. So what about that, you know? And as a result, I actually, you know, got into grad school. She offered me an assistantship, so I didn't pay for grad school, which was great, and I got experience as a graduate hall director, and that led me to my first job at Ursinus College. And then now, 4 years later, actually no, 8 years later, I'm here at Penn State. So my point in telling you that story is if I hadn't put myself out there, I hadn't met the director of residence life, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And so the picture you see here says possibilities. There's literally possibilities everywhere at Penn State Berks. And again, you've already taken the first step to taking advantage of these opportunities and possibilities because you're here today listening to us kind of talk to you about that. So you know, every time you see a flyer, or maybe you're reading This Week at Berks, let's hope so, and you see things and happenings and events, and I strongly encourage you to take advantage of all of that, right? You might not know what you want to do or how you want to get involved, but it's it's not going to happen magically, right? Like it's not just going to kind of appear at your front door. You have to go out and get it. You have to grab it, right? And so being attentive, listening to your faculty and to your staff tell you about, you know, the great things that we offer here at Berks, and taking advantage of those. So that's kind of that's kind of it. And I feel like I went through that really quickly, and I apologize if I did, but you know, like I said, it's really on you as a student to kind of advocate for yourself and get yourself out there. And so I'm here, right? I would love to chat with all of you more about how you get involved and what are other leadership opportunities we offer at Berks to kind of build those skills, right? So reach out to me.
Awesome. Thank you, Angie. That was so wonderful. And I love hearing your story and your personal connection. And I am a Westchester alumni also, so hearing your story from a Westchester perspective, and so is Sonia. Yes, there are a number of us floating around on campus. So, you know, we are Penn State, but we also are Westchester in some ways. So I appreciate that. So I'm going to invite Sonia back in to facilitate our questions and answers today. And students that are with us in the audience, or anybody that's watching, please feel free to put your questions into our chat Q&A function. Angie would love to answer some, you know, specific things about what's going on or how you can get involved. And she can also answer some things that maybe not so specific to Penn State Berks, but just general, so through some of the stuff that she talked about. So please feel free.
I'm going to actually hop in
Okay.
while our students are typing away feverishly. Angie, I know you'll be shocked to hear this, but I was not always as outgoing as I am now, right? Okay. So I was like painfully shy and anxious when it came to getting involved as a college student, especially. So what are some ways that you could recommend that our students kind of, you know, pump themselves up, you know, because you have the opportunities, there's just stuff going on, but what are some strategies that our students can use to kind of jumpstart themselves to get to an event or to attend other events like this?
Okay, great question, Sonia. Thank you for asking. I would say start with the folks that you feel comfortable talking to, right? Me, for example, shameless plug, right? I know, like I said, I didn't actually get involved until my junior year of college. And I think a part of that was kind of, where do I go? How do I start? What does this look like, right? And so I think it's mostly just finding someone who you feel comfortable talking to, whether that's a friend, maybe it's an upperclassman in a class that you have, maybe it's your faculty, maybe it's your advisor, right? These are all people who can help direct you to someone to talk to about this further, or just kind of get the conversation going in your head so that you have a plan of attack, so to speak, right? But there is a lot of folks who, like I said earlier, who are here to help you, and that starts with being your own advocate and kind of drumming up the courage to put yourself out there.
Great, thank you, Angie. And we actually have a question just came in. Which website do I need to go to in order to sign up for clubs and organizations?
Great question. So if you haven't had the opportunity to, you should visit, our Flipgrid website. So I can go ahead and put that in the chat if that's the best place for it to live.
Perfect.
Let me see if Berks. I cannot talk and type at the same time. I will admit that. If you visit that website, that will direct you to a platform that we've been using to share club videos. So if you visit, we have 3 topics in there. We have our club sports, we have our special interest organizations, and we have our academically focused clubs, right? And so those videos are on there. And if you watch the entirety of the video, they have put their email address in there, or a phone number that you can reach out to. And if you can't find that, or you don't want to waste any time, you can come talk to me, because like I said, I oversee all of our clubs and organizations, and I am happy to provide contact information for those areas.
Excellent.
Can I jump
Thank
in with a
you.
question real quick? So Angie, you're talking about the flip grid, and that's a great way to get to know everything that's going on. But is there a more specific way, or is there anything else that people just don't want to do that to get involved in the clubs, or is there a list of the clubs that they can find somewhere?
Absolutely, yeah. So we have a Clubs and Orgs website, which I can also link or send a link rather in the chat for you, which I will do right now. That has a current listing of our clubs and organizations on campus, as well as contact information for those folks. So I employ you to go visit.
Okay, and Angie, another question just came in. Would you be able to share the link again for the test about what type of leader we are?
Oh, yes.
They said they were sorry that they missed it, but if you can add that,
No,
that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me do that. All of the information. There you go.
I have another question, if that's okay, Sonia and
Yeah.
Angie. And just as a reminder to our audience, please feel free to throw your stuff into the Q&A so you can get your questions answered. Angie, can you talk to us about some of your maybe best practices or tips and tricks for how to manage the academics with the engagement and the co-curricular stuff, the extracurriculars, to balance your schedule, and how you do that and why that's important?
Yeah. So prioritizing, really, really important. And a lot of prioritizing comes with things like time management, and again, being responsible for yourself. So one of the things I recommend is to all of our first year students in the audience today is to take advantage of that academic planner that was provided to you. And if you didn't get one, please email me. We can make sure that you get set up with one of those. So use a planner, right? Start there and really prioritize what you've got going on right now. So obviously I will put it out there and I'll say your academics should be a priority, right? So making sure that you're going to class and that you're spending, the average of 2 hours per class credit to ensure that you're getting your homework done. And then I know there are some of our students out there who might be working, jobs in addition to taking classes. So that's something else that you want to consider is some of those priorities and where you need to be there. So that goes back to those 46 hours you have left in between all of that, right? Especially in your first year, I always recommend that you kind of seek out and maybe kind of sample some of the interests that we have here. And I will say, I sent you the flip grid and I sent you the list of clubs and organizations. If there's something on that list you don't see that you truly feel passionate about and you want to explore more, come talk to me about it. The process for starting clubs and organizations at Penn State is not difficult at all. And so I'd love to work with you in that nature. But, value your time, think about how you're spending that time and organize and manage it properly. And that starts with a planner.
That's good.
Thank you, Angie. There's another question that just came in. Can you share if there's information that you're privy to about some of the clubs or sports not happening this year? It sounds like we're trying to get a temperature check on that.
Yeah, it's a great question, actually. So it is a wild time that we're living in. So we currently our clubs are active, right? And they are working on ways to engage with their members virtually, right? So a lot of the club meetings will happen, via Zoom, right? We also have clubs and organizations who are putting in requests to have in-person events this semester. So for example, I'm working closely with our Berks Benefiting Thon chapter to have some things that are safe and keep our students safe, but also can be in person. So we're working towards getting some of those things live and in person, but I guarantee you our clubs are moving, they're running, and they want you to join. And so please don't let that deter you from kind of putting yourself out there. And as far as club sports go, they are a little bit different. If you do join a club sport, we have quite a bit. I will tell you that they will not be competing this semester. So any tournaments or championships or things like that is kind of put on hold. But we are working for them to still hold practices and do maybe trainings and things like that. So that actually won't start until after Labor Day, after next week. But we are working towards that.
I wanted to interrupt really quickly, Angie. I don't think that the links that we've been putting in the chat are being seen by our audience. So I want to let our audience know that they should visit the LionSide Chat website, which you see our email address up here. Sometime later in this week, we do archive all of these chats, so you'll be able to see the video, and we'll make sure that these links are part of the post in the LionSide Chat site, just so you have direct connections to these links. So I wanted to make that point.
Thank you.
Sonia, are there other questions?
There isn't, but I have one while we still give our audience a couple of more minutes to submit things while we have not an expert, but just somebody who loves what they do with us. I did like that. I wanted to ask you, Angie, I know you had mentioned the woman who got you connected with your future, right? With going to grad school and working in student life. But who was an influential leader outside of her that kind of got you to where you are today?
Oh, wow. All right. Let me think about
Let's get deep. Why not?
Yeah, like, woo, all right. I love that so much. So someone who was near and dear to my heart, actually. So I mentioned that I teach dance classes on the side. So growing up, I was dancing from the age of 3, on. And so growing up, I had an instructor. Her name was Maria, and she was someone who was very close to my life. And I will put it out there that I didn't necessarily have the most strong, stable family home, so to speak. So I relied a lot on my teacher to help guide me and get me to where I am. And she was really the one who influenced me to even, get to college. And I was a first year, a first generation college student myself. So teaching me how to fill out a FAFSA form and all of those things that you need to do to be a college student, right? And so she was the one who inspired me, and her tenacity and dedication and love, right? All of it was just about love, and that for me is what connected the dots, right? And so I kind of still use that as a strategy when I'm working with students, right? Like, we all want to be loved, we all want to be cared about, right? We all want to be important to somebody, and so that's what I try and do for other people.
Thank you so much, Angie, for sharing that. That was like, I'm ready to get the tissues. They're too far away. I can't reach them, but that was really beautiful. And I think it's inspirational, and I think could resonate with a lot of our students, because who would have thought a dance teacher ends up helping with the FAFSA?
Right,
You don't see that, but that's the beauty of the synergy that these relationships and connections are making. So I would like to put it out to our audience again, you never know where you're going to run into somebody who's going to end up really changing your life. So make sure that you get connected, and we still have, we have some time here today. If you have any questions, even if it's not completely specific to student life, but just about life in general, we're happy to help.
Absolutely.
Well, Sonia and Angie, while we're waiting for some students to populate some questions, one of the things that you mentioned earlier is the planner that we provided our students, and also you hinted to the This Week at Berks email that you send out. And I know I get a ton of email, and I know that our students get a lot of email. Can you give them some tips? Can you give all of us some tips for managing that and trying to sort of prioritize and pick and choose what's important about that stuff, or even a way to sort of just scan it and see if something catches your eye that you might want to take a look at to manage some of that?
Sure. it's hard for me to give advice in this area because I myself find it difficult sometimes to manage the amount of emails we're getting. And so that also plays a role in how you're managing your time because of how important we use, or how, excuse me, rather, how often we use email to communicate with one another, especially in this virtual world we're living in, right? And so, again, shameless plug for myself, this week at Berks, I hope, is a culmination of everything that we have going on outside of the classroom. And so it's actually been designed to help you kind of sift through some of those things that you might see come your way through other emails and things like that. And so I again employ you to open that, right? And there hopefully isn't too many words on there to kind of get you lost into, but enough to say, okay, you know, Tuesday, you know, this is going on, or, you know, actually this webinar was featured in This Week at Berks that came out last night, right? So starting with Monday, working your way down, we do have a coming soon section. And again, it's coming directly from my email. I'm the person who writes that newsletter and sends it to you. So you can literally just reply if you have any questions. But as far as, you know, kind of managing your other emails, again, it goes with the prioritizing, right? You know who your faculty are at this point. You know, if they're sending you something, it's definitely going to be important. So start there, right? And work your way down. But definitely don't toss that This Week at Berks email off the bat, right? It's another reason why I actually send it on Sunday evenings, because I know starting Monday morning at 8 a.m., you're getting those, right? They're coming through. So if you have time on Sunday night, you know, click it open, take 5 minutes to give it a good read through, and hopefully set yourself up for the rest of the week.
Thank you, Angie. Those are great tips. I'm going to use some of those myself. It helps to throw, like you said, those This Week at Berks points right on your own calendar, and then you'll be good to go with the links. Yeah. So that's really helpful. We did get a question from one of our students about the status of Penn State Berks sports teams like baseball with the pandemic. I know, how would you like to field that question?
Sure. So my office doesn't work directly with our NEAC conference athletics. So I will have someone put in a chat or somewhere contact information to our athletics office to get more specific details. But I will tell you that our some of our NEAC sports, our fall sports, for this semester have been, you know, canceled, you know, due to trying to keep us all safe. But those athletes are planning to work on their conditioning and getting those practices in. So they're not just kind of taking the semester off, right? They're still working really hard to improve their skills. So
that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Angie, we got one other student. This is a really good question.
Yeah,
so
it was really
stay tuned. As a commuter student, how would you guys recommend that I meet people in person? I feel like it's tough just talking to people through Zoom. I know clubs and organizations, but most of them are just meeting over Zoom. So this is a great question.
This is
Thank
a really
you.
Great question. Thank you to whoever asked that. So one of the policies that we currently have with the pandemic put in place is that student groups can't meet in larger groups of 10, right? So that we have a 10-person window to kind of get you on campus and hopefully interacting with some people. So again, another shameless plug, one of our more well-known clubs and organizations we have on campus is our Campus Activities Board. It is a programming club, right? And so I realize that not everybody, you know, on this webinar is interested in planning events or, you know, maybe attending a bingo, you know. However, it's a really big group of students, and they are actually offering tonight what they're calling a cab mixer. And so I employ you to hop on that call tonight at 9 o'clock and kind of show face, and it is virtual, but it's an opportunity to meet someone so that you can connect. You know, maybe you're meeting at Cyber Cafe and you're grabbing a coffee, or, you know, you want to go up to Tully's and maybe have a lunch or something. So that is definitely an option. And I know another big club that we have on campus is pretty well known, is our Berks Benefiting Thon. Our Thon chapter, and if you don't know what Thon is our huge philanthropic organization we have Penn State wide that raises money for cancer research for pediatrics, for our children, right? And so they always get a really big turnout. They have a kickoff event next Wednesday, it's September 9th. And that will actually be on campus in person in Perkins Plaza. So those are some of the things you want to look out for. Like I said, we are doing everything we can to have in-person events, and you'll know that with reading This Week at Berks.
Excellent segue. Well, I appreciate that. Well, it doesn't seem like we have any more questions, so I think it's about time for us to come to conclusion. Thank you to Angela DiJacomo for chatting with us today and letting us know that we are resourceful. We are resourceful. There are so many things out there for you as new students and returning students to get involved in, and I encourage you to spend some time doing that. Please make sure you come back to the LionSide Chat website to look at the archives so you can get some of the links of the things that we referenced today, and we will also try to add the athletics link to that space also.
Thank you.
A special thank you to all of you for joining us for today's LionSide Chat. Angie, this was great. Thank you for kicking off this series for us. It's really exciting that we're able to partner with the first year seminar with the LionSide Chats to bring all of these wonderful experiences all semester. So as you click out of our webinar today, you will receive some access to a survey. We appreciate you taking the few minutes to complete the survey, to give us some thoughts about what you thought about today's chat, and maybe some ideas for some future chats. We have a number of different things coming up this week. We have on Wednesday, we have the use of force legal framework in the current environment. That'll be presented on Wednesday during the Common Hour. And on Friday, the LionSide Chat crew has partnered with the Race 101's Social Justice Collaborative on campus. And the Social Justice Collaborative will be offering the first in the critical conversations right here on this channel on Friday during Common Hour. And we really encourage you to attend that as well. You're encouraged to reach out to us via email and check our website. And be sure to come back with us to meet with other faculty, staff, and students from Penn State Berks as they share their experiences. So stay safe, Berks and beyond. Signing off until next time, this has been Penn State Berks LionSide Chat. Thank you.
Thank you.